do that.
Can I bend over for you? One, should we open the door? Out or outside?
Yeah, they want me to eat back into no fat.
But isn't that like sister-in-law had something like that and ended up with like fat?
Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Welcome, everybody, tonight to the regular council meeting for July 3rd, 2019. Don't have a very big agenda, but we'll get started on it and so people can get on home if they've got some plans for tomorrow. Following Pledge of Allegiance, first item is approval of the agenda. Council, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion we approve this evening's agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Next item is a consent agenda. It's two sets of council meeting minutes, planning and zoning meeting minutes. And there has been an addendum to the council meeting minutes of June 19th. I believe you found them on your, where you sit there when you sit down. It's a change to Councilor Jaramillo's remarks down at the bottom of page 2.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve this evening's consent agenda, including the addendum to the council meeting minutes of June 19th.
Got a second? Motion's been made and second to approve tonight's consent agenda with the one change to the town council meeting minutes for June 19th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Thank you, council. First up in the discussion items is tonight is a public meeting for our 2021-2025 ICIP Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan for the town of Edgewood. And for you members of the public, this is basically the first of 3 meetings where we'll just take input from people about ideas for our next round of ICIP. We have in the packet here last year's projects. And this is an opportunity for members of the public to come in and tell us what they think we ought to be chasing dollars for. So it is a public meeting. Councilors, if you have anything to say, go ahead. Otherwise, we'll bring the public up and let them start telling us.
I do have a comment, Mayor.
Okay?
I think that we've discussed this before, but a potential or opportunity for the Edgewood Elementary School gym that's on here as the last item, we don't know for certain that could happen. It kind of depends on what the school board decides for that area. And I know they've talked about many different options. One option is, putting the whole thing down to nothing and building a new school someday, or leaving the gym, right? Or, so there's just, I don't think that they've made a certain decision on it. But we did say that in the meantime, we should definitely pursue facilities usage agreements with them. And I think that's a good thing. As far as on here, I don't mind having it on the list. I think, but it's just that I would hate for us to, spend money and then not, and then they're just gonna, they probably wouldn't let us anyway, right? But do you know more on that?
No, just that so far, they've been pretty willing to lease or let people use it. And as far as I know, that's their short-term, long-term plan till they come up with something different. But, yeah, they're going to just keep, whoever needs it. I noticed on the sign out here, we need to talk to, is it Bibiano over there? They still had that country living thing up on the sign there. That was way back in April.
Yeah.
But, yeah, as far as I know, they're still amenable to anybody using it like they did that day, so.
Yeah, I think that they've been pretty good about it.
This is one of those under the old heading of, why buy the cow if you can get the milk for free? So. Anyway, counselors, anything else? Members of the public?
Mayor, actually, can I,
Go ahead,
really
Carla.
quick? At the last meeting, Counselor Abraham had asked maybe for a list of planning documents that we have available. I have that.
Okay,
The last two links on there were having trouble uploading, so they may not yet be viable, but I'll post this list on the website as well. And I think the last time we talked about it, we talked about the fact that they seem to want almost shovel-ready projects, or at least certainly projects we already have estimates on. These are all the planning documents we have available that are linked to online. Like I said, the last two maybe not linked to right now because they were having trouble uploading, but hopefully all of them will be active by the end of the day. And I apologize because I'm going to be one of those people who skips out of here early tonight, but I wanted to be here for the ICIP discussion.
okay.
So there was that. And one more thing. Items 1, 2, and 3 in the last ICIP were all wastewater treatment plant related. Hopefully, we have enough funding right now in place to get through at least 2, if not all 3 of them. And that may make some room on the list. I just wanted to let you know that. That's it.
I'm sure probably something there will end up on top of the list again.
Yep.
I don't know just
And-
what it would be, but,
I'm sorry, I'll go back to this. The department heads have all been given a worksheet to fill out.
right,
So at the next ICIP hearing, which I believe is on the 17th,
right?
you will probably hear from the department heads, and they may have some projects they want to present to you, and they may have some cost estimates. So just be aware that they all have those worksheets, and I'm sure they're all going to want to talk to you about what project they'd like to see on the ICIP.
Fair enough. Anybody from the public wish to? Ms. Turner, come on up.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'll keep it short. My priorities are the same that they have been for several years running: wastewater improvements and road surfacing. And I would like for you people to consider the possibility, I know this is a long range, this isn't a short range thing, of the town acquiring its own ability to do chip seal on its own. I think we've seen that we're captive to weather and availability of contractors. And I always liked one of my father's contemporary high school classes motto was paddle your own canoe when you can do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Council, any follow-up thoughts?
Oh, Mayor, Council, so one thing that we were told this past go-round by Senator White was that they will be considering vehicles for capital outlay now. So that is something to keep in mind. So granted, we just purchased the water truck, and hopefully you see it driving around now, the brand-new one. But I think, road department might come with a grader and there might be some other heavy equipment on there, but from what we've been told, they'll fund those. So I know in the past, we've been told, oh, don't put those on there, the governor's going to veto it. So the new governor,
Apparently what he did, he got some money for Tajaras for some firefighting vehicles or something.
Oh.
He suggested to us, since Norton's been sniffing around for a new motor grader, try it out, because a motor grader's got a pretty good long life.
Well, we Need a motor grader, and we also need a roller pretty badly.
Crew to run another one. The one they're on now, if you had that and a second crew, that would do a lot of good.
Yeah.
Speaking of that new tanker, it got in here the other day, and I think that's going to be quite useful. I seen both of them running here the other day and put a lot more water out there and maybe get them roads tightened up a little bit. Well, if you don't have any more comments on this one, we can move along then to public comments. And the first one up then is Tom McGill.
Tom McGill, 12 Buck Road. This might have been appropriate for the capital outlay also. I went, this is sort of a last chance for Church Road. I want to make sure that Church Road's a safe street. I contend that West Church Road is not safe, East Church Road is now safe. Juan graciously gave me the description for what we're trying to do with Church Street and with Steeplechase in the report, and it includes making them a complete street. I highly approve of that in theory, but I want to make sure that everyone understands when you take on this is a really big deal. It's a process, and it's something that should have probably been taken care of in the comprehensive plan, because it's building, for example, it involves bike paths, it involves pedestrian ways, markings, lines, and all sorts of things. It's complex and very expensive, and very much an urban concept. I just want to point out that when you put that on the legislative request, and if you come here and vote for it, you're kind of taking on a big project. I don't think it's entirely appropriate for a rural application. A lot of the concepts are very appropriate. For example, the striping issues, the escape, the pedestrian escape, all can be done very inexpensively without having a large thing. But just for example, if the concept is every road we make from now on is going to be a complete street, I'm all for that. That would be just terrific. But paving half a Church Street as a complete street would be like half a runway in the long direction. So I'm not speaking out against it. I just want to make sure that I looked on the packet, and there was no description of what the restrictions and so on for the funds were. But if you're obligating to this, I'm just going to point out that you can take the part of the complete street that works in rural areas, and I highly encourage us to do that. But and I think that's what I want to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a question real quick. So would a complete street be like 344 out here between Church and Dinkle? You know, it's got paths on both sides and bike paths and all
Right.
that kind of stuff. Would that be considered a complete street?
Complete street is kind of one step beyond that. It has to do with not so much it includes the infrastructure, but it includes marking, it includes marked crosswalks, overpasses, crosswalks in between intersections. It includes what they call lane diet, when you can take your 5 lanes and bring them down to 2 or 3, putting in medians.
Sounds like tramway.
Yes, exactly. And complete street is a thing, you know, and it's very useful. It's just very much an urban thing. And I very much approve of it. If we did that, that would be actually excellent. But I think it's biting off an awful lot, and I think we want to be aware that there's something in between that will make a street safe. And I just don't want it to be, I don't want to reproduce West Church Street on East Church Street. And this is I felt my last opportunity to say that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next person up is Carol Van Duzen.
I was here at the last town meeting to bring up the ordinances of animal control, and I have been in contact with Mike Rings since the last time I appeared here, and in discussing my issue with the ongoing battle I'm having with my neighbors over their dogs. And he did tell me they were cited for leashing their dogs outside. The only ordinance that was not discussed with him, or wasn't discussed at the last meeting, was a nuisance and noise violation. It's in the ordinance. I get to wake up to this every morning, 7 days a week, constantly. Windows open, windows shut. And it's not fun. I you can hear it.
Yeah.
You can still hear the crickets. I mean, every morning. And it's repetitively. It doesn't matter. And I've tried talking to them. It doesn't do any good to talk to them. I even, one morning, it was 5:30. I'm like, can you please take your dogs inside? What? I can't hear you.
Dog's barking.
I can't hear you. I'm like, exactly. She goes, my dogs are barking. Let me take them inside. That's what I wanted you to do. My husband was trying to get caught up on computer work, and unfortunately, the way our houses are arranged, our kitchen, dining room, living area faces their dogs. So anyone who comes over and visits, you got to speak really loud. You have to turn the TV up. Windows open, windows shut. Doesn't matter. So I do think that needs to be addressed. For the periods that they put them out
2 minutes.
is very long.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next person up is Karen Kaiser.
Good evening, Karen Kaiser, 30 Futures Loop. I wrote my remarks down this evening to make sure that I comply with the 2-minute rule. And I noticed tonight the mayor doesn't have his stopwatch, but my request is just that it not be selective. Oh, you do, I apologize, I'm wrong. But if you're going to hold me to 2 minutes, I'd ask that you hold everyone to 2 minutes, even people you like or people that you've appointed to serve on boards. Last meeting, time was called on me, yet the next speaker went on quite a bit longer, and you didn't use your stopwatch on that one. So I think to be a good leader, it's more important to listen to divergent points of view than those that agree with everything you say. But at the very least, I think fair enforcement is required. I see tonight on item 4B, you're finishing up on the last 400K of the 1.2 million to pave or drop sewer in the church area. And my request is when projects touch and concern your land, Section 10-16-3C is in Charlie of the Government Conduct Act requires full disclosure that you own the land touching and concerning the project, or that your family members own the land. And the disclosure is to then determine, is it a conflict or is it not? Whether it later requires recusal is certainly a matter for you as a governing body, but if it's never mentioned and disclosed in the first place, I've never heard it discussed, and I've paid quite a bit of attention to what's said in council meetings. So my request is that you please take that minimum required mandatory first step when any of y'all own land, as for example the Bassett land on Church Street, that you disclose that. And I'd really like to see that begin in Edgewood. It should be disclosed on the record in a public meeting. Thank you.
Next person up is Jerry Powers.
My name is Jerry Powers. I live here in Edgewood. And I have a comment about the Church Street paving as well. I looked up the definition of complete street, which I understand, if I understand it correctly, was in the proposal for the capital outlay, which I think means that Edgewood is then committed. I'd like to hear that, if that's going to be some discussion later, if that's correct or incorrect. It seems if it was represented that way that it would be committed, we all would be committed to fulfilling that. It basically, in the National Department of Transportation definition, they talk about complete streets being designed to enable safe use and support mobility for all users, including people of all ages, abilities, regardless of whether they're traveling as drivers, pedestrians, cyclists, or even public transportation riders, which I guess means buses. So that is, as Tom probably said, it's kind of a commitment to something more complex than what we have now if it includes all of that. I'm in support of anything that has room for pedestrians and cyclists, as well as even possibly horses, because, I mean, in this community, that's something I think that's kind of lacking. I ride a bike frequently, and it's very difficult to ride anywhere without getting into traffic. So I would like to know if that's actually the case, though, if Edgewood is committed to that. The other thing I'd like to ask is, I'm requesting a couple of public hearings on the EPCOR matter before the town votes on it. The reason being, it's been over a year since there's been any public input. I'm sure that it's been progressing, but it's all been in closed session where we don't get to know what's going on. So it's such a huge commitment. If I read it right, it would more than triple the town's debt, probably the biggest expenditure the town's ever made. So I'd like to request a couple of hearings just to have it open so that people can actually give their input.
Thank you. Does anybody else who didn't sign the sheet want to get up and speak?
This is Abraham. I live in Edgewood. Concerning what the previous lady was talking about as far as personal land improvement, most of the Bassett land improvement has been done on a 2-2 vote with the mayor breaking the tie. And you should have recused yourself. That's all.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? If not, move along then to the next item. Matters from councilors. Councilor Jaramillo.
No comments.
Councilor Abraham.
I am very concerned about the Horton Road project. I know we've had many people come in here and talk and talk and talk. Somebody had sent me an email showing that when that subdivision was approved by P&Z, that it was required the developer put in an asphalt road. And so as a member of the governing body, it really bothers me that we require something of a developer that we're not willing to do ourselves. So if we're going to tear up an asphalt road, I really think we should, since it was a requirement from our P&Z, that we should be required to replace it with comparable material. And so that is my comment.
Okay. Councilor Abrams.
Well, other than the fact that I'm kind of sore, I'm not going to say a whole lot.
Fair enough. Councilor Holly.
I have just a couple of announcements tonight. One is that the mammogram van will be visiting us out in the parking lot out here on Thursday, July 11th, so next week, from 8 until 5. And they do take appointments, so you're asked to call Radiology Associates of Albuquerque at 332-6967. Most insurances are accepted. And then one other screening is scheduled on Saturday, July 20th. It's the osteoporosis screening. That'll be held at the library, and the screenings will be free on Saturday, July 20th from 10 until noon in our library. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next item then is matters from the clerk treasurer. Mr. Torres.
Mayor, council, just a couple things tonight. One, I guess the most important, we caught a couple counterfeit checks that were written in the town's name. Looks like they used the where they washed the check and then took someone else's Wells Fargo check, washed it, put our information on there, and forged it. So we filled out the police report, got everything off to the bank, and we're just waiting for the resolution. The other thing we're trying to get set up now is the positive pay system. So what that would do is moving forward, any check we write, we'll submit to the bank. It has the check number, the vendor, the payee, and the amount. And if it doesn't match that, they won't cash the checks moving forward. This one was cashed in Arizona. The signatures on there was J.L. Barrett for the mayor's and 22 for mine. So, I mean, just they didn't check the signatures and stuff. Clearly can tell that they were not town checks. The numbers were way out of sequence as well. But we've been watching daily, as well as Wells Fargo. They know our sequence. Our government manager, treasury management team, they're sending us daily reports as well. Just here's everything that's cleared, just so if there's anything additional, we can catch it, flag it, and get the reports filed. The other thing that we have is the annual conference for New Mexico Municipal League is coming up August 28th through 30th. If you guys would like to attend, please let me know. We have until August 1st to get you signed up, but earlier, I guess, if you would like to get a better hotel, and I'll email out a list of the hotels that are available for that conference as well. And that's all I have.
Mr. Torres?
Mayor, and one, how much were the two checks?
$4,001 and I believe 38 cents, the combined amount.
Combined amount, okay. Yeah, unfortunately, it's a common scheme out there right now. We've run into it in other places too. But glad that you're doing the positive pay.
So in matters from the mayor, I just got one thing, and that is our tentative August schedule. We've been talking it over, and everybody's coming and going right here in the summer, so we've got a couple things we're looking at. Instead of having a meeting on the 7th and the 21st, we would have one on the 14th, and then on the 16th, we would have our parliamentary training with Randy Van Vleck. So that's what we're kind of looking at trying to do there in August. That way we can accommodate people's travels and stuff. And
That's actually the 1 week I'm going to be gone.
Is it? Yeah.
In Louisiana.
So I thought we were having our parliamentary thing the July 12th.
Well, that didn't work out for him. He's in the process of traveling right now, but he said that the four
First four in August.
First four Fridays are available to him.
Okay.
So we've reached out to him on the 16th, and hopefully he can fit us in on that.
Maybe the best thing is for these types of situations that Amelia or somebody touch base with each one of us to see our vacations and everything, because I'd have to look at my calendar to see.
Well, as I said, it's tentative, so let us know what's available, and we'll be looking at it, though, but you got to start somewhere, so that's kind of our tentative one for August.
So you were thinking the 14th?
Right, and then the 16th for the parliamentary, and then that would free up everything else that month.
Okay.
Except that's the 1 week I'm gone.
Understood. Let us know when what is available for you.
Okay. So, do you guys know your weeks that you're gone? You know mine. I mean yours.
For me, I mean, whatever.
Are you pretty?
School starts, so. I'm
Are
not
you
going
okay
anywhere.
in August, John?
Yeah, I know, school starts, so I gotta be here. The last 3 weeks of August is going to be very busy.
Mhm.
So,
Mayor, are you going to be around all month?
Yeah.
Juan?
Mayor Council, so I will be here, but the majority of staff's going to be out the last 2 weeks of August. So maybe potentially look at the first week or something. We can coordinate and try and figure out, because we're also trying to get P&Z involved as well, so the parliamentary for both of you, both boards.
Mm-hmm.
The third is Run Rally Rock. So that's going to have everybody kind of tied up that week, getting ready for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll take a look too.
Fair enough. Okay, next item then is action items. And the first one up is discussion, consideration, action on the recommendation to appoint Evelyn Vinogradov to Fire Impact Fee Committee for the town of Edgewood. Council, you've got a letter of interest here from Ms. Vinogradov. She's out here tonight. Come on up, Evelyn, and introduce yourselves and tell them who you are.
I guess you all have my letter.
Right.
I'm Evelyn Vinogrado. I really envy all the conversations about roads that you're having because I live on a dirt road, a narrow one. The older I get, the more the trees seem to get bigger, and I get worried about getting out of there. And I don't know how my neighbors would get out. I have no idea. So John Carpenter mentioned that there was a possibility of a fire impact opening on the committee. And I was a teacher for 35 years, so I'm a heck of an organizer. So if you'd consider me, I'd love to serve. Great way to serve a community.
Thank you. Council,
Thank
have
you.
any questions for Ms. Vinogradov?
Any questions?
No, I have questions, though. How many openings do we still have?
If she gets on there, there'll be one more.
Well, it sounds like you have good ideas that we could use.
Well, I hope so.
Council, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we accept the appointment of Evelyn Vinogradov to the Fire Impact Committee for the town of Edgewood.
And I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the appointment of Evelyn Vinogradov to the Fire Impact Committee for the town of Edgewood. We'll do it on a roll call vote. Start down there. Counselor Jaramillo.
Aye.
Counselor Abraham.
Aye.
Counselor Abrams.
Aye.
Counselor Holly.
Aye.
Thank you, Council.
Thanks for serving and getting involved.
Thank you.
Next item then is a discussion, consideration, action on Resolution 2019-13, a resolution supporting project number CN C5193406 and accepting ownership, liability, and maintenance responsibility for the scope of work. And yes, as Ms. Kaiser's pointed out, I guess this does go down the Church Road there by the Key Place. What she probably doesn't know is this is a long time following, and we had a number of people in there with petitions asking for this work a number of years ago. This is like the final act in taking care to get this project going. So
I do have some questions, just because this is, it says, you know, we're accepting ownership, liability, and maintenance responsibility for the scope of work. Have we seen, like, what we're signing up for, the scope of work? This just seems, some of this seems very vague.
Mayor, Council, so this is a new requirement this year for DOT because they oversee the capital outlay for roads specifically. So this is their requirement that we have a resolution passed, and this was their language that in order to use the capital outlay funding that was awarded to us, we have to pass the resolution and accept responsibility for the road, which we currently already do. I mean, we also have the MAP funding as well. That's
So
committed to the
I
road.
guess I would just like to see attached to this, maybe what covenants, agreements, and understandings have been merged into this agreement. I just feel like if I'm approving this, it says, you know, we're going to do all this stuff, and there's no information. I guess I feel a little, maybe I'm the only one, but I just feel like this is kind of vague, and I have no idea. This doesn't even say what part of Church Street. This just seems very vague to me. If you were to look back in 10 years at this resolution, what would it even mean? You know, is my concern.
Mr. Torres, is this wording required by DOT?
Like I said, Mayor, Council, this was the first year that DOT's asked us to fill out a resolution, and this was the word language they provided us.
Right, but don't you think they expect us to know what we're accepting?
Well, Mayor, Council, we've received 2 MAP fundings. I mean, we do have the plan, the tentative plan design for church, and we have the, so the design, the engineers are, Horrock Engineering's already been working on the design for the road, and this would just be the funding to actually construct it.
Yeah, so, but could we have something attached to this that's shows what that is? I mean, even if it's just a map or a, I'm concerned with the covenants, agreements, and understandings have been merged into this written agreement, but, you know, but we don't know what they are.
Right, well,
Are they subdivision covenants? Are they DOTs?
It's all part of their, so we have to fill out the agreements for the capital outlay. We're not going to get the agreement until we get the resolution. Like, so NMED, they
So
get,
that's like signing a blank contract?
well, the agreement's going to come, and then we'll sign the agreement later. But this, like I said, this is their requirement. I mean,
They need this in place to bring the agreement. What you're saying.
Yes, sir.
Well, that doesn't, I mean, I feel like we're committing these people to something we haven't even seen, an agreement we haven't seen.
Well,
This is MAP funding that we've already applied for and we've already been.
Mayor, Council, sorry, it's or it's just capital outlay. It was what the,
Well, it's MAP funding and capital outlay.
well, the MAP is a separate agreement that's already been signed.
Right.
We've accepted. This is just for the capital outlay that was just awarded this last session.
Those are my comments, those are my concerns.
Comments? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve Resolution 2019-13, resolution supporting project number CN-C5193406.
You got a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve Resolution 2019-13, resolution supporting project number CN-C5193406. We'll do a roll call vote.
Mayor, discussion for
Go
a
ahead.
moment. So is this what some of the community members had concerns about and questions about? As far as the design of the street project?
Mayor, Council, I'm not sure. I mean, this is just for the $450,000 of capital outlay. The design has already been underway by the previous MAP awards that we've received for it.
And is this a complete street design?
It does have curb, or not gutter, but has curb and jogging trail on it.
So does that,
Make it a complete street?
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know.
Be as complete as a tramway boulevard, but it would have the pavement and a drainage feature down there at that draw, and some kind of path on it.
I guess the question is like, does this commit us to something, larger than we thought by this language?
It just commits us to completing the construction, basically using the funding that we've requested from the legislature to use it for this project.
Right.
That's already been designed and presented to them?
So 100% design is not done yet with the drainage structure. We're looking at a low-flow crossing, but for the most part, it's been designed. It has the trail, it has the curb on it, and several other little drainage features. But for the most part, the project is designed. This is just committing us to spend this construction money or spend this capital outlay on the construction of it.
And have we presented that map to the public?
Yeah, we have. We
I
had
believe
some
so. I think we've had Habib out here.
People out there with it.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, this has been in the design, and this has been in the planning now for, I believe, 11 or 12 years. And this is the culmination of that 12 years of work with the state legislature, and finally, we're about to do this, and you guys are going to stop it. That really is brilliant.
Well, I think you're making assumptions.
You know, we're once upon a long time ago, we passed several resolutions in this council, not with this council, but nor with this mayor, but I was sitting on the body, and you weren't even.
Mm-hmm.
And road design standards were one of the things we asked for. And you get what you ask for sometimes. So now we have trails, and we have curbs, and we have pavement, and we have stripes, and you don't want to move forward with church.
I
We
do
need it
want-
for ingress and egress. It is a public safety. It is a necessary thing to do.
I do want it for.
It's just crazy.
To happen. However, I would also like a little bit more something when somebody looks at this 10 years down the line, for them to see something
This is-
other than we agreed to accept whatever agreements are merged into this written agreement that we haven't seen.
But if we
I
can't-
have a concern with that.
We can't get this passed, how do we get to the covenants and agreements and
All I'm
understandings?
asking for is something to be attached to this, a map, anything. We approve things all the time on this council without any kind of instruction as to what it is. That's how we got into, in my opinion, how we ended up spending $732,000 on a sewer design collection system that half of the people don't even know about. More than half, that I wasn't aware of. Because some of these things are so vague. I would like just a little more clarification, is all.
I'll call for the vote.
Mayor, I do have comments, if you will allow me the floor. I just want to say that my question was just to make sure that we were addressing the concerns that the community members brought up, because I thought they were good questions, But you've answered that in the sense that, it's been designed except for the drainage, and that it would have curbs and sidewalks and, and that it's really not committing us to more than that. Is that what I'm hearing
Right,
you say?
it's-
Is that right?
That's how we get this money.
And then I'm also hearing you say that this is the required language by DOT. Now, I don't think it's a good idea. I think Sherry's point is valid for DOT to be requiring governing bodies to approve things without giving us the information. But they, I'm sure that they'll give that to us. So that's something you could provide when you get it. Just bring a
Counsel.
copy so that, just so we know, right? And then lastly, there's nothing that says we can't put, what section of Church Street in here this is, just so that people know. I mean,
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I don't want to get into that problem again.
is
We
it a
had that problem
problem?
with Horton, and we lost $800,000 because of it. If we definitely say it's this section, we cannot use a penny of that money if we go a foot beyond. And I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah,
Just
that
won't.
makes sense, but I think,
Just won't. That was $800,000 we just flushed. That was their money and mine. I don't want to do that again.
well, did we flush it? Not me. Did you?
We had to.
Still
We
there.
can't
It's
use
in
it on
limbo.
anything. It's in limbo.
Yeah.
We can't touch it.
Well, the language needs to be edited on that, right?
You can't. We tried.
That's news.
We went to DFA. We went to
Who went
the
to
bonding
DFA?
agency. We talked about it and talked about it. This is an issue of a previous council. So be careful what you want.
So I'll
and
call
how you
for the
put it
vote
down,
again.
Because it can hurt you.
Well, I don't want to restrict anything. I guess the
Well-
point was just to,
Then don't.
well, just to give, like, I mean, I see her point, right? Just that if
Yeah,
you're
we're-
not,
we're-
if you're
we're
not
saying that-
attaching
We're saying
anything.
that we agree that we're going to use $450,000 of capital outlay funds from 2019 to pay for design and construction of improvements on Church Street.
Mm-hmm.
And that we are accepting the responsibility for that construction and the continued upkeep of that road, which we have done for every other road that we've constructed.
Yeah.
There is no difference here. The only language difference that seems a little bit vague is that the town of Edgewood incorporates all the agreements covenants, and understandings between the parties hereto concerning the subject matter hereof. Well, the subject matter hereof is the construction of a road, which we have plans for, which we have been designing and working on for 10, 11, 12 years?
And why can't they be attached, is all I'm saying.
Because the book would be thicker than our thing tonight.
In 10 years, nobody's going to know what we did, so.
That's all I have, Mayor.
So I'll call for the vote. Start here, Counselor Abrams,
Aye.
Counselor Holly,
Aye.
Counselor Jaramillo,
Aye.
Counselor Abraham.
Aye, but it's a ridiculous thing.
Next item then, discussion, consideration, action on the financials for the month of May 2019. Mr. Torres.
Mayor, Council, you have before you the financial report for the month of May. So as you can see, GRT went back up by about approximately $100,000. Still not certain what exactly had happened with tax and rev. I know we did stop the big construction projects, but that still doesn't, if we're talking about the previous month of April, that still doesn't speak for why it dropped down, you know,
And bounce back up.
100,000 and then bounce back up. So when I find out more about it, I'll let you know. I do foresee us going probably stabilizing somewhere around the 300,000 range, probably for this next month, and then moving forward into this fiscal year. It's still kind of anyone's guess as to what the state's going to be doing with their new distribution formula for the state share GRT, since they are now supposedly imposing the gross receipts tax on internet sales just on the state portion for all vendors. So, and that allocation is that weird, if you recall, that population formula that they were going to give, I think $70 million they had to distribute out to everyone. So we'll see, I guess, moving forward, what that percentage is going to be for the town. Other than that, I mean, the payables to the vendors were, you know, fine. It's with the exception of finding the counterfeit checks. I think it was a, you know, pretty regular month. Stand for any questions?
Council have any questions for Mr. Torres?
I just have one that, and this is not really a question, it's just a curiosity. The monthly billing for Office 365, i.e. email hosting / whatever you want to call it, I'd be curious how that breaks down. Finance and it's on page 11, kind of halfway down. It's Wells Fargo card service remittances. It's basically a charge card. It's a monthly recurring. And I'd just be curious to see what that is per user.
Okay.
And it's my own curiosity more than anything else. I mean, there's no...
I can email it to you. I've got the invoice for each, I guess, license series that we have.
Yeah, how many licenses we're paying for, how many licenses we're using, if we've got spares, if we've got none, if, you know,
Okay.
if we've got some headroom, if we don't, I mean, you know, if we expand, is it going to cost us twice as much, that kind of thing. I mean, that's, I like to keep track of those boys because they have this funny tendency to get their hooks in.
Is that email for everybody in town?
That is, yes.
So it's all the town accounts, it'd be your email accounts, the staff's accounts.
Well, and it's also online storage and some other creepy creature features we may or may not even be using.
Right. And it's just all off the Office 365. We have, I think they're called E2 and E3 are the different types of licenses.
Right.
Yeah, I can provide you
I think
that.
it gives you access to Office 2019 or, you know, online Office products and file sharing and all kinds of other stuff. So, and I don't know that we're even using half of what's there. I'd be curious.
The last one's the treasurer's report.
Oh, wait a minute, I've got a
Go
couple
ahead, go ahead.
questions. Page 4, at the very top, it says Home Depot Credit Services. There was 2 entries for dishwasher for animal control.
Missed that.
Yes, the equipment went down again, so they purchased more.
Oh, they've got 2?
I believe so.
Oh, okay. Wasn't aware of that. And then further down on that page, the vendor name is Meadowlark Design. It says specifications for pathway, that's under Parks and Rec. Can you tell me where the pathway is?
Mayor Council, I'll have to get back to you on that one. That's definitely a Parks and Rec one.
Okay, thank you.
Any highlights on the treasurer's report, Mr. Torres?
As you can see, I mean, we received several reimbursements. We received another big chunk of the property tax. We'll have that last chunk come in, in May, or for the June on the next statement. So our balance shot up by about 300,000 overall. We received a lot of the reimbursements for the sewer line design, or actually no, so for the sewer line and installation. So yeah, it was a good month.
Do we have a final count on that?
We do. I will email you that one.
Is there something we need to do with GRT as far as the hotel or reimbursements of GRT in accordance with the IRB or anything like that?
So the problem was running into, once again, tax and rev. I showed them the PPA agreement. They said not a problem, they'll get me confirmation of payment, and I've been going back and forth for 2 months, so finally went to the hotel itself and just said, look, for you to get reimbursed, you're going to have to provide that to me because tax and rev isn't giving it to me. So they did that. We issued them the check today, and we'll have Mr. McCall come out and do his presentation so he can show you that he's keeping up with his end of the bargain for that PPA.
Good.
So we're in speaking with him, we're looking at hopefully either this next coming up meeting or the August meeting to have him present.
How many years forward does it go?
I don't recall offhand.
Do you guys know on council?
No, not off the top of my head.
I should know, but I don't remember right this second.
It's just
We have the PPA somewhere that spells that out.
Okay.
Rather than misspeak, I'd rather look it up.
I'll entertain a motion on this one.
I'll move to approve.
Got a motion to approve the financials for May. Got a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the financials for the month of May 2019. Start here, Counselor Holly.
Aye.
Counselor Abrams.
Aye.
Counselor Abraham.
Aye.
Counselor Jaramillo.
Aye.
Thank you, Counsel. Calendar review. Town offices will be closed tomorrow for an observance of Independence Day. Next Water Fund Day is July 13th. That's not this Saturday, but the next one. Excuse me. And movie night, July the 20th.
Oh, is it Tuesday night? No, that's August.
July 20th.
Oh, it's Saturday, okay.
Good movie would be The Guy Going to the Moon that night. And our next regular council meeting, July the 17th. That done, I'll entertain a
Mayor.
motion to adjourn.
Mayor, just a question as far as the request from the community on workshops or meetings regarding EPCOR. Is there a plan for that once we get the information we need? Are we,
Not at this time.
do
there
we
isn't.
have, can we have a couple of public hearings or something to where the public can have input before a decision is made?
We will see on that.
Okay.
Maybe just give them an update of what's going on.
We will see.
Thank you.
I have a question. I know last time that we had a water fund day, there was some problems with people's water. Have we notified EPCOR we're having that water fund day?
Several times, including that night. I expect they'll be notified again, maybe by email,
Yes,
carrier
and
pigeon.
Mayor Council, once again, that was,
We can drum up.
well, we're also making sure that Santa Fe County will notify them because they're the ones actually drawing the water. So they'll let them know more specifically when they're going to be doing it. So yes, we've had that conversation.
Well, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, council.
Thank you.